Good morning, folks. Hope you're all doing well today. Today is Saturday, the last day of February. I hope you weren't born February 29th because you don't have a birthday this year, so sorry about that. But this morning we have snowfall going up here in the upper Midwest and the northern plains here, and some snow and potential freezing rain here into the parts of the Northeast. Um, Rain into Florida, some moisture here in the central U.S., and some along the West Coast here. But you zoom in a little bit, you see what's going on here. Maybe some heavy bands of snow with some freezing precip as well. Again, welcome to my channel. My name is Tim Ayler, meteorologist. Like my video if you like it, subscribe, share with your friends, and leave any comments in the comments below, or if you have any suggestions for how I can improve my content, I would appreciate it. So let's get started with the current hazards. Quickly looking at the current hazards here, we don't have a lot going on today, with the exception of a winter weather advisory up here in the northern plains, some wind advisories, red flag warnings up here in parts of the on the front range of the Rockies here, with some wind gap events, and dense fog advisories, with just stagnant air here in some areas in the south, some dense fog, and maybe in a wind advisory here in California, but other than that, not a lot going on this morning. Some flood warnings also here into Georgia. Forgot to mention that. As far as today's forecast for the Georgia area, decreasing clouds today. This morning, lower 50s to mid 50s. Afternoon highs, upper 60s, lower 70s. Mostly sunny tomorrow, mid to upper 40s. Afternoon highs, lows to upper 70s. In the long term, we're going to warm up, and you can see here why. I mean, it's above normal. Well, the experts are predicting this, so what am I to say about it? You know, going to be in the high temperatures in the 70s and 80s, low temperatures in 50s and 60s. So warmer than average temperatures across the eastern U.S. during early March. So that's you can take this to the bank at least for the first part of March here. Today, highs in the 60s, right, upper 60s for most of the state. Clear skies. Lows in the 40s and 50s, like we talked about. Maybe upper 40s, not really 50s here. Clear skies. Tomorrow, warming up here, like I said, highs in the 70s, and no precip chances tomorrow either. Blowing out a little bit longer for temperatures in the on the long term. There's a quite a bit of certainty here in the models all through March 11th that it'll be above normal temperatures here, with for lows. For highs, a little bit less certainty, but still highs in the 70s, and maybe the lows will be cooling down some overnight. But you see the certainty is less here as you get further out. But this is pretty impressive and certainty for the models at this range. So you could take this to the bank pretty much up until March 10th or so here. So for next week, the 2nd through the 6th, we have severe weather possible here. This is day 3 to 7 U.S. Hazards Outlook. Heavy rainfall as well, the 4th through the 6th, with hazardous cold up here in Alaska, heavy snow as well, and high winds here. Moving on to the 8 to 14 day hazardous weather outlook, we still have this moderate risk, high risk of and slight risk of heavy rainfall here in a larger area through this period, right, the 7th through the 13th. So we talked about that in the forecast, and we will talk about it more in the coming days. And also up here in the desert southwest as well. Heavy snow possible here along the Intermountain West, also maybe into Arizona as well here. So that's good news for the mountains here. They need all the snowpack they can get. Winds look to be on the increase here, of course, where we have boundaries setting up with the progressive pattern here, and system just moving through the flow here over and over again. You see where the edge of the boundary would be here, right, in general. And slight risk of high winds up here in Alaska as well. And the only risk of hazardous temperatures here is down into Alaska here, into western Alaska, the 7th through the 9th. So as far as sensitive rainfall, starting on Tuesday, we have a risk into marginal risk into Illinois, not Illinois, Illinois here, right? Missouri, parts of Kentucky, Indiana here, sorry, and Ohio, right? So it's the beginning of our heavy precip as we go through the period here. So into Wednesday, this is day 5, parts of northeastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, parts of Arkansas, right? Parts of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana here. So I haven't looked at my map here for the state names. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why, but I have a lot of trouble with some of these states here. Anyway, that's the risk on Wednesday, which is day 5. So the Climate Prediction Center has put out this graphic for the heavy precip expected next week, as well as severe weather across the Great Plains, Midwest, and this also shows the 8 to 14 day precip outlook as well. So you got your risk of heavy precip, flooding possible, all these different things with the hazards here next week into the week after, right? And the continuation of this threat will move into the week after as well, the 7th through the 13th here. So the 13th is we got all next week and the week after. So it's going to be a long duration event here. You can see where the highest risk looks to be. Really, this is beginning next week and into the week after. So what's the short-term outlook here for precip in the continental U.S.? So we have moisture streaming into the upper Midwest here. Northern High Plains. The Clipper system moving in here. Sweeping through, right? This is today. All right, and this system swings through. You get some moisture on the southern side of it, maybe some showers here. Thunderstorms along the southern edge, freezing precip, some snow here, right? And this moves through the northeast as well. And potentially some, moderate snow as this moves through, right? But it moves out as quickly as it came in, right? And then moves offshore. And then in the middle part of the country here, we have some overrunning. Let me back this up some. Disturbance moving through the flow. You have this overrunning moisture, and really gets like strung out here, right, with the warm air moving to the north, and that's where this ends. So you zoom this out a little bit, you have some moisture here in the Intermountain West with some higher terrain, snow and rain here, relatively warm here, right, with high pressure. Some leftover light freezing rain and snow to the north here, and the Clipper system up into Canada. What are the temperatures going to look like in the short term? Well, right along the northeast corridor here, still in the 20s and 30s, likely due some snowpack left over here, is keeping it cool, right? Cooler than it normally would be, right? You see that. You can see it, almost see that effect from the temperatures where they're distributed, right? The northern tier of the U.S. is still pretty cold here. Single digits, right, into Minnesota, North Dakota, parts of the UP, Michigan maybe, right? But the cold air doesn't push that far south. Warms up above freezing in the northeast, but in the deep south, 70s, 80s potentially here. See the temperatures, how they warm up quite a bit here in Texas and the desert southwest, reaching potentially 100 degrees Fahrenheit or close to it. Right? Okay, so this is 6 p.m. Cool again, cool and off again overnight, right? Of course. Below freezing with some single digits up to the north. But see the cold air is retreating here. And again, tomorrow, 60s, 70s, and 80s in the southern tier of the U.S. And it cools off again in the northeast overnight and the upper Midwest. But you see how the cold air is retreating here as we move into Sunday afternoon, with warmer temps still in the south here. So for the short term, we got a few systems moving through here with some quick shots of snow and freezing precip. And after that, a big warm up for the eastern U.S. As far as snowfall totals, you can see when we start this out where the heaviest snow will be. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Bismarck, getting some heavier snow here. Zoom this in a little bit. It's projected on area maybe 4 or 8 inches here as we move through Sunday, right? Okay. This area moves to the east. And these are the totals through Monday, March 2nd at 1 p.m. So generally the highest totals will be out here in the northern plains and maybe in the Midwest as well, and portions of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic here. No, it's kind of hard to see, but also out west here in the Mountain West, the higher terrain, of course, is getting some enhanced snowfall rates as well, which isn't unusual this time of year. As far as ice goes, not a lot of ice accumulation until maybe Sunday with that overrunning event moving through here. Maybe some heavy accumulations of ice here. Don't look at the totals exactly what these are going to be, but you can see the highest amounts projected by the models. Okay. Parts of Kansas, Missouri, right? As well as some areas just on the north of this boundary, wherever it sets up, Philadelphia, southern Pennsylvania, and parts of Ohio as well, and maybe some higher terrain in West Virginia. So, and getting into Iowa here, and parts, maybe a little bit of Nebraska here also. As far as severe weather goes, today we have a marginal risk of severe weather along the east coast of Florida here, southeast coast, with the risk of no risk of tornadoes, potential marginal risk of hail here, as well as wind. So there's a short wave moving through the flow with a boundary setting up along the eastern part of the state today, which is bringing that threat into play. All right. Otherwise, some general thunderstorms in Florida, the central U.S., and parts of the western U.S. Moving into tomorrow, you have a general thunderstorm threat again in parts of California, the central U.S., and southeastern Florida. And for Monday, we got another thunderstorm risk in the Intermountain West and portions of the Central Plains, Southern Plains, and parts of the Midwest. And then we move out to day 7. Let's see, day 5, which is Wednesday. Okay, we have this slight risk already outlined of severe weather into parts of Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma right now. This may likely shift or change as we get towards this time frame, right? So, because this is 5 days out, so still a lot of time to figure out what's going on here. But I'll evaluate this threat a little bit in a little detail next. So I'm going to briefly go over the severe threat here for Wednesday, right? This is Wednesday morning. Tuesday evening, you see dew point temps approaching pretty high values here overnight into Thursday, right? 60 to 70 as far south, right? But the best dynamics will be, at least according to this model run, the GFS, in this area here, right? So let's look at that real quick. One thing we're going to look at too is temperatures here. Plenty warm, 60s with near 70 with dew points in the 60s, plenty warm enough, right? Look at the let's look at the low levels, right? Wind speed, pretty intense low level advection here. Looks like the low level jet is really getting going here overnight. So Tuesday into Wednesday, right? go to 850 millibars. You got a really pretty intense low-level jet here. And Wednesday morning, you see 850 millibars, how it really gets going here. It looks like there's a cold front or a mid-level system moving through here. So let's look at 500 millibar vorticity here. It's hard to really make out, but you see this trough. There's a little bit of a trough digging through here with some perturbations in the flow. Okay, let's go to 700 millibars. Yeah, there's it's probably due to a cold front, some forcing here. So let's go to mean layer CAPE, which is a measure of the total energy in the atmosphere. So we're talking 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram here. Surface-based CAPE. Still, there's some sin involved here. So it's convective inhibition as well. Let's see if that erodes some here. Sin is not good for storms. So we do have a bit of a warm nose aloft here, looks like. Let's take a look again here. Yeah, so let's look at the supercell composite. This gives us a good idea of the parameters in place for supercells. Pretty between a 2 and a 4 here in this bullseye area, at least right now. And that moves out some as we get through the night. See, Tuesday night to Wednesday morning, likely because of that low-level jet response. Okay, so helicity, plenty high here, right? If we look at a sounding, let's take a look at a sounding here, see what it shows. Nothing on this one, but we go back a few runs. See the cap here aloft. The difference between LFC and LCL here is pretty high with this warm nose. I wonder if we're going to be able to overcome that. You see the photographs are pretty impressive as well. Let's go forward with this some. I don't know. You know, there's an inversion here aloft, which the low-level lapse rates are pretty not very good here. So let's go through a little bit more with this. The cap is starting to erode here, so let's just see what happens. I don't know, you know, doesn't look too promising. The capping inversion is pretty steep here. Some warm air between 850 and 700 millibars here. Could prevent convective initiation here, so we'll have to see how this plays out. But if that cap isn't able to erode, well, we're not going to get much of anything here. So let's switch to the, we don't have any other models to look at right now. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the severe weather for right now. I'll get into more details as we get closer here. So as we go out past the short term, excuse me, this is the European model showing on Tuesday a system moving to the north here with dragging some rain, freezing rain and snow as it moves to the north here, right, over the northeast. But you see what happens. Warm air keeps pushing the north to the east of the system, right? And it really it rains for the first time in a while up here. All right, you see the coldest air is really up into Canada with this, right? And maybe parts of the Midwest and northern high plains. Enhanced moisture on the backside. That system moves away. And now we have temperatures above freezing here, right? And we have another system moving through the flow here. And this is Thursday, March 5th. Wednesday is a time frame when they're talking about the potential severe weather in this area. And go over that a little bit, but you see where this area is here. This pushes to the north. out west here, we got some enhanced moisture here as well, on the northwest coast with some snow and rain in the higher terrain here, some onshore flow maybe, right? And another clipper type system possibly moving through the flow here on the north. And this other system moves through the north, and you see the cold air is really up into Canada now. There's some cold air on the backside of these troughs, right? It's pushing down the east side of the Rockies. And there's a boundary that sets up here, right? That system moves to the north. And now we're into Friday, March 6th. We have another system off the east coast here. And we get more moisture. And you can see why we have this flooding risk next week. Enhanced moisture on the west coast and all in the deep south here, right? And you see repeated rounds of heavy rain all the way up into northern New England, Maine. More rainfall here. You see the heavy rainfall potential with these convective elements, right? Low pressure developing along the front range of the Rockies, right? And both the GFS and Euro shows this developing, and I'll go over the GFS in a minute. Maybe some snow for the first time in a little while on the front range here, as well as parts of North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska, right? Depends where the system goes, but you see how warm it is to the east side of this. This high pressure is maintaining its grip on the eastern seaboard here. And eventually maybe wants to push this cold front through the northeast, maybe back to near normal temperatures for a little while here. Okay, and but stays unsettled here, at least according to the Euro in the farthest southern reaches of the country, with colder temperatures to the north here. So what's the GFF show? Roughly the same thing starting on Tuesday. Snow, freezing rain pushing through the northeast. Some enhanced precip out west here. Another system moving through the northeast, right? But you see how warm the low levels are here. That system moving through up into the northern high plains with maybe a cold front pushing through here, right? With some enhanced moisture along the front, on the leading edge of this. This is in the Friday. Let's go back to Wednesday here for severe weather here. We'll see how this plays out. This seems to want to push it further to the north here, but we'll see. Pushes out into the north, snow up into northern New England, but then behind that, unsettled. And then more systems moving through. The system moves a cold front through, and you have a boundary setting up here, right? Same thing as the Euro in general, okay? Of course, the models are going to be different at this point, but in general, they agree on just training of storms here. You see the fire hose of moisture here in this area, okay? And the GFS develops this low as well along the east front range of the Rockies. Moves to the north and eventually tries to sweep, brings a closed low through the flow here. That's pretty crazy run right there. Let's take a look at the previous run with this. Wasn't even there. So yeah, I was looking at this. Let's look at the 500 millibar vorticity here. You see this closed low right here? Want to drive this down, develop this closed low right here. Very unlikely scenario, guys. If you switch to the European, doesn't show nearly the same thing. That far out, there's no way models can depict that accurately, right? But you know, go back to 6Z, develops this really pretty intense closed low right here. So going back to the radar for the GFS, crazy run, moves system right up the northeast coast, and maybe bring some snow to the northeast here. So and that's where that ends. And we get highly uncertain after this point, but very unlikely scenario that's going to happen. This is like 12 days from now, so don't post this on social media. So switching to the total moisture, right? We have just the beginning of this starting Wednesday, right? Couple inches of liquid here in parts of the central Midwest, I guess you'd say, Midwest and Ohio Valley, right? You see the beginnings of the moisture increasing here with these systems repeatedly going over the same area. You can see why we have a flooding risk outlined next week, not the week after, excuse me, into the, this ends at March 11th. So don't look at the totals exactly, just look at the bullseye here of heaviest rainfall amounts, okay? So this could be a very impactful event here. And this is mostly in the term between like the 6th, 4th through the 11th, okay? So out west here, also some higher amounts, but that's not uncommon this time of year. This is going to be an impactful event, all right? So the National Blended Models, I decided to use this too with the ice accumulation. This starting Tuesday. So we go back to Monday, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday. See the highest icing probabilities here are into central Pennsylvania, parts of Kansas, and Missouri, right? And parts of the Midwest here, and into the Appalachians and east of the Appalachians here, and parts of the Mid-Atlantic and some parts of the Northeast as well. You see it fills in some as we get those systems moving through, and maybe some more up here in the upper Midwest and northern high plains along a boundary here and up into Canada. So as far as snow goes, we got the system coming through initially here into the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and the Northern Plains. Maybe some snow with that second system into the central U.S. You see not a lot of heavy amounts here, 4 or 6 inches, right? Out west, we get some enhancement in the higher terrain. Most of the snow is relegated up into Canada here, okay? And another push, and we get another push of snowfall up here into the Northeast. And that's pretty much it for the eastern seaboard for a while. Out west, we get some more snowfall up here, the higher terrain, of course, which we need out here, okay? But you see, maybe on the backside of this, we get towards the second week of March, we get some snowfall back into the plains, right? But the East Coast is pretty much void of this. Let's go back to the 24-hour snow totals here. So you see what I'm talking about here, right? So you got the 24-hour periods. See how it moves through here. And then we're done. So at the end here. So you see what I'm talking about? Pretty much void of snowfall in the east for a while. All right. So it's not Tim Ayler saying it. This is the experts in the National Weather Service here. So one of the parameters that's looked at, of course, with the severe weather threat coming up in the longer term is surface-based CAPE. And you can see here going into Tuesday into Wednesday, we got values, National Weather Model values averaged 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram here. And this is the only parameter that they show, okay? And then that first system with that severe threat moves through. You see the CAPE values increase again into Friday to the west here. And then they really stream pretty far to the north here, parts of the Midwest, the deep south here, approaching 2,000 joules per kilogram down here into Texas. That doesn't mean we're going to have severe weather. That just means there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere, okay? So the ingredients are there. Get further out. Still some increased CAPE values here. Monday the 9th into the 10th. And wow, all the way up into the Midwest here. So I'm going to do a special segment for the severe weather parameters here next. Well, one thing I forgot to do is show you all the temperatures in the long term, right? So we get to the long term here, 70s and 80s in the deep south on Saturday, Sunday. Warming up quite a bit here, although there's a cold push of air initially in the northeast. We've talked about that. And then warmer and warmer here as we get to this temperatures near 100 Tuesday. Let's just play this through. Let's stop this here. I'm going to play it through and slow it down a little bit. How about that? You can see the push of warmer temps repeatedly up here to the north, right? 60s, 70s, and 80s as we go through this. And, you know, maybe some cold air on the backside as we get towards the end of this period. You see this push of warmer temps up to the east here. You see 60s potentially getting up into the northern high plains, the Midwest here, the central plains, and even into the northeast, maybe approaching 60. Wow, 60s up into northern New England as well. So if you have snowpack there right now, it's likely to melt by this time, of course. But above average temperatures likely for a good period here. Well, when we look at 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, we kind of talk about this already, but above normal temps likely for all the continental U.S. here, right? Well, less certainty out west, but more certain here in Alaska is going to be below, in southeast Alaska above, Hawaii above as well, and below in the Aleutian Island chain. As you move to the extended here a little bit, warmer than normal to the east here, with near normal to above. So no below normal temps on the map here at all for the continental U.S. here. Below in Alaska still, with above in southeast Alaska, above in Hawaii, and a below in the Aleutian Island chain. Moving on to 6 to 10 day precip, we have gone over this in the long range forecast and the extended hazards outlook, but above normal precip here, below, looking to be on the west coast and maybe the east coast as well. In between there, we're going to be a heavy rainfall going on here, right? Excuse me. Near normal to above precip in Alaska, depending where you're at. Above to near normal in Hawaii, and near normal to above in the Aleutian Island chain. The 8 to 14 day period is characterized by pretty much the same pattern here, with above normal precip maybe moving further to the east here, below out west to near normal. And most of the nation either near normal or above, right? New normal to above in Alaska, Hawaii, and near normal to above in the Aleutian Island chain as well. Moving on to week 3 to 4 temperature outlook, looking to be above normal here, with the exception of the northern tier of the U.S. So equal chances to below up to the extreme northwest, but looking to stay above normal here for a good portion of the nation. Below in Alaska, above in Hawaii, and above the equal chances to below in parts of the Aleutian Island chain. Precip looks to be above normal in generally the same areas, with the exception of maybe the northern plains and the northern part of the country, right? Equal chances in between and below along the eastern seaboard, equal to below to above in Alaska, above in Hawaii, and equal to below in the Aleutian Island chain. So in closing, I'd like to thank y'all for watching today. I appreciate it. And you can see here the heavy rainfall totals that are expected here. And I expect more severe weather as well with these different systems moving through. And we'll refine the forecast in the coming days for this. But hope you enjoy your weekend. Have a great day, and God bless.